Gun fam, what's up? It's the Gun Brother. Thank you for tuning in. And today we are going to answer the number one question that any instructor ever gets is, what gun should I buy? Let's break it down so you can do this every time you go to buy a gun. Let's go. Every instructor will tell you that the number one question they get asked is, what's the best gun to buy? What gun should I buy? What's the best concealed carry? What's the best this? What's the best that? Probably every gun store employee will say that. Every clerk, that's the number one question. People ask that all the time, especially right after or before they take a class, once they become interested in it. The answers can vary, but I'm gonna give you 5 criteria that you should go through every time you go to purchase a pistol or a firearm, from the first one to the 30th one to the 100th one. I think this works 100%. So let's go. Let me know what you think in the comments. Number 1, what is the mission? I know it sounds corny, but what is the mission for the firearm? There's a lot of things firearms can do. People buy firearms for all kinds of reasons. So what is the mission? So what can those missions be? Is it home defense? That's going to dictate somewhat dictate your choice. Is it concealed carry? Is it recreation? Is it competition? Is it just to collect, just to get a gun you don't already have? All of these are reasons to buy firearms, and there's many more. So the first criteria you need to establish is, what is the mission for this firearm? For instance, if it's supposed to be a home defense gun, that can be handgun, it can be rifle, it can be shotgun, it can be anything. And then that mission depends on where in the house you want to use it, who in the house is going to use it, things like that. However, that same firearm wouldn't necessarily be a great firearm to conceal carry. So if concealed carry is the mission, then you have a whole nother set of considerations for concealing and carrying that firearm. So the number one question I always tell people, as soon as they ask me that, I say, well, what do you want it for? What is the mission for that firearm? Number 2, the second criteria is, unfortunately, what are the laws? You have to check the laws in your area, especially if you are in states like California, New York, Chicago, Mass. If you are in the Midwest and most of the South, get whatever you want, right? Northeast, gotta check the laws as well. So you gotta check the laws in your jurisdiction to find out what's even allowed. So once you figure out what's the mission, then you want to figure out what's even allowed in your jurisdiction, because if you get your heart set on something, or somebody tells you something and then you go to buy it and then the law says you can't have it, now you had to start all over. So once you've established what's the mission, check the laws in your jurisdiction, figure out which firearms are allowed and not allowed. Unfortunately, to exercise our 2A rights, we still have to go by a bunch of rules. So that is what's in place now. As much as we all hate it, I know I'm gonna hear about it in the comments, but we have to do that. Check the laws to see what's available or what is allowed in your jurisdiction before you run off and just start buying a whole bunch of guns. Third criteria, what is the budget? You have to set a budget for yourself, because this is a rabbit hole. Even once you start firearms and once you start down this life, people can talk you into buying all kinds of stuff. So I always tell people, especially first-time buyers, set a budget for your first gun. You don't have to buy the most expensive gun in the world, because one thing about some of the more expensive guns is they require more care. This is your first firearm. You have to learn how to take care of it, how to break it down, how to maintain it, and hopefully you shoot it so that you then have to break it down, oil it, maintain it, etc. To spend thousands of dollars on a firearm and you never shoot, if you're that type of person, you buy stuff and then don't really follow through with the hobby, or for whatever reason that you got it for, obviously that's just a waste of money, and it's just going to sit in the closet and gather dust until it's inherited by your next of kin. So set a budget for yourself. The next couple of criteria will kind of let you figure out what's a reasonable budget. When you're talking handguns, I think reasonably for a first handgun, anywhere between 300 and 500 will get you a quality handgun. When you're talking rifles, almost the same thing, but a little higher, maybe 5 to 1,000. Shotguns going to be between 3 and 7. So they're almost, those are like your baseline to good firearms. So those are going to be affordable firearms with still a good level of quality. Fourth criteria is brand. So once you set that, the 3 and 4 kind of go together, because once you set a budget for yourself, it'll kind of dictate what brand you're looking at. And if you kind of flip them around, if you choose a brand first, then kind of set a budget for yourself, or choose a brand according to your budget. So 3 and 4 kind of go together. But there's other important things about brand, and I put brand seemingly down the list, but all of these kind of work together, and they're all almost equally important. In other words, if you don't know the mission, you can't choose the right firearm. If you don't know what laws you have in place, you can't choose the right firearm, or you will choose the wrong one. You can't even have it. So then brand and budget kind of go together as well. And I put it where I put it for a reason. I have heard this question asked a million times, and a lot of times, 500,000 of those times, it wasn't being asked to me. And I really get irritated when I hear someone ask, what gun should I get? And people start with a brand. You should get this. I'm not going to even say it. So to tell someone they should get a certain brand without even knowing what's the mission, what their budget is, things like that. You just tell them to get it because you like it. That's why I kind of let brand be down in 4th place. But brand is important. It is important to go with a reliable brand. One thing about reliability is the gun will work. It's important to go to an established brand, because the thing about established brand is support for that firearm should something go wrong, or aftermarket support for the firearm if you just want to change things and customize the firearm to your liking. So established brands are very important. Some brands are definitely better than others. There is a degree of you get what you pay for. When it comes to firearms, if you go too cheap, you can get something that's not reliable. You can get something, again, that's not established, so there won't be any support for it. There's no aftermarket for it. So once it breaks, you're taking it to a gunsmith or somebody and having it fixed. So a reliable brand is important, and your friends are always going to have a brand at the ready for you to go to. Now, the thing about it is, that's what leads me to criteria number 5. Try before you buy. Out of all the brands and all the firearms, there is no such thing as one size fits all. Everybody's different. Everybody's dexterity is different. Everybody's abilities are different. You can shoot one firearm or 10 firearms in the same caliber of the same size, and they will all feel differently. So it's important to try before you buy. Most ranges rent guns, and they usually have close to the current model, if not the most current model available for rent. Your friends that are making all the suggestions to you will also have guns, and you need to shoot them. One of the most important things that's different for everybody or affects everybody is, for example, is grip angle. When the grip angle of some guns works for some people because it puts their wrist in a certain position, while that same grip angle does not work for other people because it puts their wrist in a position that's not comfortable. So if they say this is the best gun and give it to you and they put it in your hands, you're like, I don't really like that. It doesn't fit me. Try before you buy. That is going to extend your hobby. It's going to extend the life of the gun. It's going to extend the life of you using the gun, you going out and practicing, training, and having fun, because if the gun is not comfortable, you're not going to go shoot it. And the hassle of selling it and transferring it is going to sit in a box and you're going to forget all about it. The other thing about try in the scenario that you are buying for the mission. In other words, if it's a concealed carry firearm, see if you can conceal it. See if it is concealable with your body type. If it's a hunting firearm, if you can, go to a range where you can shoot some long distance if it's comfortable for you. If it's a firearm for home defense, is it something that you can wield quickly and accurately? Because home defense and CCW, totally different from hunting. Hunting, totally different from competition. There's just so many missions that if you don't try it before you buy it, you don't know if that gun is going to be good for you. Those are my 5 criteria. quick recap. What's the mission? Check the laws, establish a budget, understand the brands, try before you buy. Even the most seasoned gun buyer, if you go through those steps when you buy a firearm, you will almost always end up with the perfect firearm for you, not for somebody else. So you guys can let me know what you think in the comments. Those are my 5 criteria for buying a firearm. As always, I will talk to you guys later. Gun Brothers out.